Hello, 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 everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is Viper Strike 95 Flight Sim. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you all have had a great week so far, and we're about to finally kick off this weekend. And what better way to kick off this weekend, of course, than with our Friday Game Day flight stream. And today we're here in beautiful Ensenada, Mexico here today. And we're going to do a flight from Baja California. We're going to go up to Los Angeles today to cover the start of the FIFA World Cup this year, of this year's World Cup held this year in the United States. So we have a bit of the World Cup this year, of course. So of course, this year's World Cup is going to be held between three different host countries: the United States, Mexico, and Canada. Will be the host here for this year's World Cup. So pretty exciting here, of course. In reality, the World Cup just kicked off yesterday with two pretty big matches. Pretty exciting so far. Mexico got the very first win, beating down South Africa 2-0 in their Group A match, and then the other Group A match, South Korea and Czechia. It was pretty exciting, but of course, 3 goals in the second half, but South Korea got the 2-1 win, thanks to a big goal by Hyeon Gyo in the 80th minute. Got the win for South Korea. Of course, today is the Group D match, USA and Paraguay, because obviously the US is one of the hosts this year. Though technically 3 p.m. today is, of course, Canada and Bosnia and Herzegovina. So should be some really interesting matches, of course, this week. This should be a good one, though. So before we get started, I do want to say hello to all the lurkers and stuff. I hope you're all having a good day here today. All your lurkers and mods, I hope you all are having a good day here this morning. This weekend, it's also going to be FS Expo weekend. But since I'm not going to be in Expo, I'm not doing any virtual flying stuff. So, but yeah, beautiful morning in this region of Mexico, of course. Got some really cool flights. So here's our flight plan for this morning. I'm going to go ahead and cover you all this morning's flight plans. So we'll start here at Ensenada Airport. Mike Echo Sierra. We'll travel to the city to the city up north in Ensenada. We'll fly over in this area. Then from there, we'll head through the coast. We'll fly through the coast, and we'll make our way over to the Mexican city of Tijuana. We'll check out Tijuana for a bit in downtown. Then after Tijuana, we make our way over to the beautiful city of San Diego, California. We'll fly around the city for a bit. So we'll have a really good view of downtown San Diego. We'll do some flying here. We'll have some beautiful flyover downtown San Diego. Then we'll go to Mission Beach, check out Mission Beach area, and then we'll make our La Jolla. We'll visit the historic area La Jolla, the Cove, and then finally make our first stop and we'll make that our first stop here at McClellan Airport. So quite a bit of stuff going on here. Lots of really cool stuff around this area, of course. And we'll be making our way over to McClellan Airport, Kilo Charlie Romeo, Quebec. Then from there, we'll continue to fly along the coast, and we'll make our way over to Anaheim. We'll cover Angel Stadium. We'll fly over Anaheim and Disneyland. Then from there, we'll enter our next waypoint, We'll enter into Dignity Health Sports Park, the home of LA Galaxy, one of the two MLS teams here in the City of Angels. The other one plays here. Then we're going to go to SoFi Stadium, the site of the match at SoFi Stadium, of course. In real life, it's the home of the LA Rams and Chargers of the NFL. Oh, not far from this area is the Intuit Dome, the home of the Clippers. Then from there, we'll continue up north. We'll visit the LA Memorial Coliseum and BMO Stadium, the home of LAFC, the other MLS team. Then from there, we'll head up north. We'll fly through downtown Los Angeles, take some pictures. We'll go to the historic Dodger Stadium. We'll pay a visit to Dodger Stadium, of course. And then we make our way over to Pasadena, California for the Rose Bowl, the site of the 1994 World Cup final at the historic Rose Bowl. And then, of course, we'll make our final stop at San Gabriel Valley, Kilo Echo Mike Tango. So we'll stop there, of course. So yeah, pretty interesting flight plan this morning. Lots of really cool destinations. So we'll take plenty of picks for this week's game day flight. And I take the X Cub here today. I wanted to take the Cub Crafters X Cub because of his livery, the Skies and Stripes livery. Because of course, the World Cup this year is in the United States, is one of the host countries. So we're going to do that. The good old X Cub. Let's get ahead and get this thing started. So go ahead and pull the lean. We're going to turn on every. So here we go. We're gonna go ahead and make our way to the taxiway. So a little bit about the city of Ensenada, Ensenada. One of the interesting things about this city, of course, this city is the third largest city in Baja California with 279,000 people. It's home to the second busiest port in all of Mexico, the port of Ensenada. And it's a major tourist destination thanks to its warm climate and proximity to the Pacific Ocean. But it's a relatively newer city in Mexico, 1882 when it was founded. But it gained a lot of popularity for tourism when the prohibition of the United States happened. And it was first submitted as a resort town during the 50s and 60s, became even more of a resort town. Today, it's a major economic and cultural hub here in Baja California. Some of the big places this area is known for, of course. Some of the really cool stuff, waterfronts and ocean resorts have been a big part of the city nowadays. Its proximity to California makes it pretty popular for a lot of cruise ships come here due to its proximity with the state of California. Windsurfing, you have the historic mission town of Guadalupe nearby. And more. Some really cool stuff here. So. Here we go. And we're off. So we're going to climb up to 3,000 feet here in Ensenada. So here it is, guys. Ensenada is their first stop. Beautiful city right here in the Baja California region. So let me go ahead and put this into our game day flights pictures, of course. So here we go. Yeah, really beautiful city, and you can see the massive port down here, of course, the port of Ensenada. You can see the absolutely massive port. So, pretty cool stuff. I see Whack-A-Mole and all that further ahead. Looks like they're not too far ahead of us. So we don't have too much into the notes today, of course. So here we go, guys. We're about to make our way over to, we're about 3,000 feet. We're going to head our way over to Tijuana, of course. So let's go ahead and cover our slides for today. We're going to do our game day flight, and we're going to do the USA and Paraguay. So the Paraguayan national team, of course, hailing all the way from Paraguay. They're known as Lee Alborgia. Hails represents Paraguay in men's international football competitions, and they're controlled by the Association Paraguaya de Football, the Paraguay Football Association. They're part of the CONMEBOL, which is the governing body of football in South America, and they've qualified for the World Cup 10 times. Which would be 1930, 1950, 1958, 1986, 1998, 2002, 2006, 2010, 2026, and of course they're also going to host, they're one of the hosts in 2030, because of course with this being the 100th anniversary of the World Cup, they will actually have a special celebration held in Uruguay. Buenos Aires, Argentina, and the Osvaldo Dominguez Dib in Paraguay. So pretty big stuff, of course. But they've always been a consistent contender in the Copa America, and they were crowned champions of the competition 2 separate times in 1953 and 1979. Their best ever performance in the World Cup was back in 2010 when they made all the way to the quarterfinals. Of course, unfortunately for the Paraguayans, they got knocked out in the hands of Spain, of course, who would later go on to win the entire competition in 2010. The highest Paraguay was in the world rankings was ETH back in 2001, and their lowest was 103rd in 1995. Their most successful period was under the coaching of Argentine Gerardo Martino, and took Paraguay to the quarterfinal stage in 2010 in the final of the 2011 Copa America, where they went runners-up. So really cool stuff. Paraguay, kind of a bit of an underrated nation. As of this year, of course, Paraguay is currently ranked 41st in the world currently in terms of the World Cup. But definitely a pretty underrated nation. South America's got a lot of really big nations, of course. I mean, you have Argentina and Brazil, obviously. Not even just Argentina and Brazil. You also have but you also have some other really considerable nations in South America. And that also includes Ecuador, who are really underrated. I think Ecuador can make a big run. Other ones around their ranking include Venezuela, Peru. Colombia's also a bit underrated too. Colombia's really underrated this year too. So like I said, South America's got stacked with some really great national teams. Ones to not be underestimated. Now, of course, Paraguay have always wore the red and white colors of the vertical stripes. The red and white vertical stripes gives it known as the Albirejoa, and represents the red and white colors of the national flag of Paraguay. The color blue has always been relegated in the home kits, at least in the jersey, with the red and white colors being prevailing. The blue has always been worn for the shorts. The color shorts and socks have generally been blue. However, on other occasions, they have been white or black. But traditionally, you've always seen Paraguay's colors with blue shorts. That's something you always know the Paraguay national team has always been. It's kind of better than their colors. Similar to Atletico Madrid, if you're talking about club, it's like Atletico Madrid. They've always worn those kinds of colors, of course. So, pretty interesting stuff, of course. The national team plays at their own stadium, known as the Estadio Defensores del Chaco. It's literally translated to Defenders of the Chaco Stadium, named after the Chaco soldiers during the Chaco War, all the way back from 1932 to 1935. Is in the capital Paraguay, Asunción. It's owned by the Paraguayan Football Association and mainly used for football matches of the national team. And in 1960, it was the venue for the first final of the Copa Libertadores, which is basically CONMEBOL's version of the Champions League, South America's version of the Champions League. Currently seats 34,000, but with renovations in 19 to 2030, it's going to go back up to 41,000, of course. But this stadium has been around since 1917. Pretty old stadium, in fact. Renovations nowadays have brought it with VIP stalls, implication of boxes, stands, and LED lights. In addition to the Paraguay national team, local clubs like Club Libertad, Club Guarani, and Club Olympia all played their games for the Primera Division Paraguaya, Copa Libertadores, and Copa Southern American fixtures have been playing here too. But traditionally, this team has been known for the national team. So, pretty interesting little stadium, of course. In terms of the rivalries, the Paraguayan national teams had several major rivalries, but the big rivalries they do have are with Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay, aka Paraguay's three notable neighbors around the three most notable neighbors around Paraguay. Argentina is quite bitter because, of course, it goes back to the beginning of competition between the two, and they've had many decisive matches in various international competitions over the years between the two. Of course, historically speaking, Argentina was obviously the more dominant of the two of the teams. But that being said, Paraguay is definitely not one to underestimate, of course. Brazil is mainly developed. It had many times through the qualifying rounds and continental tournaments, though the intensity and technical skill have left marks on the memory fans. Then Uruguay, even though less frequent compared to the other two, are played with a lot of commitment and determination thanks to the rich football tradition and spirit of both nations. And these rivalries help contest the forge the identity of Paraguayan football and consolidate itself internationally. Now, in terms of how the rivalries went, um, obviously, in terms of the 108 matches between Paraguay and Argentina, Argentina was overwhelmingly more dominant. The Paraguay versus Argentina Brazil is pretty lopsided in favor of the other teams, though against Uruguay, on the other hand, it's much closer. As of the 79 matches between Paraguay and Uruguay, Uruguay has won 33 of them. Paraguay now fought behind with 26. So, but definitely some pretty interesting rivalries, of course, here with Paraguay. But very interesting, of course, when talking about Paraguay. In terms of their national team honors, here's the list, of course. They've won the Copa America twice. They were runners-up 6 separate times, most recently in 2011, and they were third place 7 times. They've also won a couple of friendly honors too: the Copa Chevalier Boutel, the Copa Tromposki, the Lunar New Year Cup. All these are friendlies competitions. So they got quite a few bits of honors into it too. Never a World Cup honor, but you can see all their trophies, of course. If you guys all know who probably the most successful country in the Copa America, well, far and away the most successful Copa America champions, of course. When you look at trophies, of course, it's pretty much been Argentina been the most dominant team in the Copa America. But Paraguay aren't doing too bad. And finally, of course, will be the notable national team stars of Paraguay. Their greatest ever player to play for the national team here in Paraguay is, of course, their iconic goalkeeper. Is the iconic goalkeeper Jose Luis Chilavert, one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time, and probably the most famous footballer to hail from Paraguay, of course. Some really talented players over the years, of course. But yeah, Jose Luis Calvert, one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time, known as the Bulldog, of course. In fact, he's the second highest goal scoring goalkeeper of all time, and he was a 3-time world's best goalkeeper winner. But yeah, definitely the greatest player to ever play out of Paraguay. Some other notable Paraguayan players include Roque Santa Cruz, who is the all-time leading goal scorer of Paraguay, and has played over 100 caps for the national team. You have Paulo de Silva, who's played who's capped more for the national team than anyone else in Paraguay. You also have, of course, Carlos Del Mara, one of the greats of Paraguayan football. It was one point one of the most capped players in Paraguayan football history, known for his leadership, physical strength, and heading accuracy, making him one of the most respected defenders in South American football. Definitely good talent. Then Jose Saturnino Cardozo was also a notable one as well, who is definitely solid striker with the E2 25 goals in E2 periods for the national team. Then you have Miguel Almiron and Gustavo Gomez to wrap up some of the notable icons of Paraguay. And that's about it for the slides for Paraguay, of course. Hey, Quartz, good to see you, my dude. I was just talking about the Paraguayan national team for a bit. I need to go over the World Cup. I forgot to put slides for the World Cup itself. But if you guys don't know about the World Cup and know about the events, obviously. So a bit of background for the FIFA World Cup. It was organized by FIFA, founded back in 1930. 48 teams currently play in the World Cup, of course. It's been held nearly every 4 years, with the exception of 1942 and 46, due to, of course, World War II. The contest mainly goes for a qualification phase, which takes about the preceding 3 years to determine which teams qualify for the World Cup. For the World Cup, of course. And within the tournament phase, 48 teams as of this year's World Cup will compete for the title at venues from host nations over the course of the month. And of course, the hosts automatically qualified for the group stage of the tournament. And of course, as of the 2022 World Cup, 22 final tournaments have been held since the accession, and over 80 national teams have played. Of course, it is the most prestigious association football competition in the world and the most widely viewed and fall sport event. The 2018 World Cup, 3.57 billion people watched it, which is about nearly half the world's population watched that World Cup. So lots of stuff going on here today. And 19 countries have hosted the World Cup. And in 2026, this year, it's jointly hosted by Canada, Mexico, and the US, giving Mexico the distinction of being the first country to host games in 3 separate World Cups. Yeah, Mexico. Pretty crazy. Are you retired now? No worries, Port. I guess you're retired from being a streamer then. Okay. So, as of for the most successful teams in the World Cup, by far the most successful team to win the World Cup is Brazil. They've won 5 of them. In 1958, 62, 70, 1994, and most recently 2002. Then, of course, a two-way tie between Germany and Italy is joint second, is Germany and Italy, of course. Then after that is Argentina with 3. France and Uruguay both share 2, and England and Spain have won 1 each. So they're definitely the most successful national. These 8 are the most successful national teams. The next national team that's the closest to succeeding has been the Netherlands. They've been unlucky a few times, runners up 3 separate times for the Dutch. Who knows? Maybe this could be the year the Dutch finally win a World Cup, which would be interesting, to say the least. Then Hungary and Czech Republic have been runners up twice. Of course, both times was when they were Czechoslovakia. Sweden was actually a runners-up back in 1958 as a host nation. And then 2018 was Croatia. Now, following up, the United States actually got 3rd one time in the original World Cup in 1930. pretty funny to mention about that. But yeah, some very interesting nations have been in the World Cup, of course. In terms of the greatest goal scorers in World Cup history, number 1 is Miroslav Klose of Germany. Then, of course, you have the Brazilian Ronaldo Nazario with 15. Then, 3rd place is Gerd Muller, again from Germany. In terms of Messi, he's actually tied with the French legend Just Fontaine with 13. So should be some interesting stuff for the World Cup this year, of course. So we're about to arrive in the city of Tijuana, of course. So we're going to go ahead and arrive into the Spanish city of Tijuana. Now, a bit interesting about Tijuana, of course, it's the most populous city in northern Mexico. Population is 2.29 million people live in Tijuana. And it's the third largest metro area in the Californias, actually, which includes both Baja California and the U.S. state of California, trailing only Los Angeles and the Bay Area, of course. And it's the largest binatural combination shared by U.S. and Mexico. Despite its popular tourist destination, it suffers a lot of crime, especially with the cartels and stuff. And that's probably what scares a lot of people sometimes from visiting Tijuana. And I mean, the crime issue is definitely deservingly so. Which is a shame because Tijuana as a city, quite a bit has things going for it. For one, Tijuana has a rich entertainment and nightlife. And of course, Tijuana has a rich art community here too. Has a rich community and nightlife history, of course. Rich nightlife, rich art community. Especially a rich music history, too. With a lot of ranchera music and stuff, as well as different music styles. So, pretty interesting stuff. Now we're going to enter from Tijuana over to the beautiful city of San Diego, California. And yes, it's part of the San Diego-Tijuana metro area. San Diego, of course, is the 8th most populous city in the United States. It's California's second biggest city with 1.4 million people. Its metro's 3 million people. It's famous for its Mediterranean climate, extensive beaches and parks, long association with the U.S. Navy, and nowadays as a development center for wireless electronics, healthcare, and biotech. And it's a very old city too. It's the birthplace of California because it was first visited this area in 1542 by Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo, claimed it for Spain. And the mission was founded back in 1769, becoming the first European settlement in California. The largest sectors include that of military defense-related activities, tourism, international trade, research, and manufacturing. In San Diego's port, by the way, San Isidro is the busiest international border land crossing outside of Asia. And it features the busiest single runway airport in the country, San Diego International Airport. In terms of sports, San Diego has, of course, a couple of major league teams, but actually only 3 major league teams. The Padres of Major League Baseball, San Diego FC of MLS, and San Diego Wave FC of the National Women's Soccer League. Of course, they used to have the Chargers used to play here, but of course they left San Diego for LA. Um, but of course, they had that as well. San Diego is a really neat city. Some of the really cool things San Diego has is, of course, it has a really beautiful bay. It's known for its mix of American and Mexican cultures. There's a really cool place to visit. The USS Midway Museum. You have the Maritime Museum of San Diego with the Star of India, which was an iron hull. It was a sailing ship built in 1863. Tons of other really cool museums and landmarks. San Diego Museum of Art, San Diego Natural History Museum, the Museum of Us, the San Diego Air and Space Museum, and the world famous San Diego Zoo, which is one of the best zoos in the United States. So yeah, really cool stuff here in San Diego, California. So here we go, guys. Beef it here, Spanish massive boycott. Hey, good to see you, Shaq. Good to see you too. Let me give him a shout. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep watching my flight plan so I don't really, maybe I'm going a little fast right here. Maybe one day I'll build an RPC, but the chances are flying 1 p.m. though. I have money, it's just with political nonsense. Like I said too. Fever here, Spanish massive boycott too. Yeah, FIFA's rules kind of befuddled me for a bit. There's just nothing you can do about it, though. That's just the rules. You disagree all you want, but that's just how it is, sadly. Yeah, the Whitecaps. I heard rumors about them leaving Vancouver. I hope that doesn't happen. I would not want the Whitecaps to leave either, but I've also learned some background. Because and a lot of it's because because the fact is they don't control the stadium, so they don't get a lot of revenue. They have limited control over revenue and stuff, scheduling issues, and more. So that's probably that's the issues with the Whitecaps going on. So this is the San Diego Naval Base. So you see all the warships, of course, here in San Diego. Yeah, beautiful city. San Diego's a really neat city. Really beautiful place. It's definitely one of the places in California I would love to visit. I think it's the California city I would love to visit the most, is this city right here. And here's the thing, for being a California city, it's actually surprisingly a pretty safe city. San Diego is actually not bad with crime. It's actually relatively safe, which is a good thing. So, of course, this here's Petco Park down below us is the Padres' home ground, Petco Park, home of the San Diego Padres. So here's Petco Park. Here's downtown San Diego. You can see the USS Midway Museum here. Absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful Midway Museum right here. There's San Diego International, the busiest single runway airport in the United States and one of the busiest single runway airports in the world. if you ever get a chance to land at San Diego International, you'll be in a treat when you get down to San Diego International. Really, really cool place to land an aircraft. No worries about PS4 and stuff. Never get to see the game in NFL, but yeah, California's really nice. I know why my parents didn't want to visit, but I enjoyed the time in Los Angeles and stuff. I thought it was pretty cool. I want to see more of California, just besides the cities, of course. Here's Balboa Park, so you can see the San Diego Zoo. So here's the San Diego Zoo. It was one of the few zoos in the United States to have giant pandas, of course. So here's Balboa Park. Just want to take a picture of it. Oh yeah, I want to talk about some other sports stuff too, by the way. I'll talk briefly about some of the other sports stuff that happened, because there was some pretty crazy stuff going on in the NBA Finals. Um, yes, in the NBA Finals, the Knicks are up 3 games to 1 in the NBA Finals, which is unbelievable. Um, but it's hard to believe the Knicks are already up 3-1 in the finals. They did lose game 3, obviously, against the Spurs at Madison Square Garden. However, it was nothing compared to what happened on Wednesday night. You guys all, anyone who's around sports has heard about the 28-3 meme that the Falcons, everyone talked about the Falcons and mentioned 28-3. That was nothing compared to what happened on that night. The Knicks, no joke, choked a 29-point lead in the fourth quarter. And oh yeah, here's the Chargers' old stadium. This used to be the old home of the Chargers. Nowadays, it's Snapdragon Stadium, the home of San Diego FC and the San Diego State University. So, but that was nothing. The Knicks were up 82-58, and they choked a 29-point lead to the freaking Knicks. It is the single biggest collapse in NBA Finals history. How on earth do you choke a 29-point lead against all of that? How? Yeah, the women's, though, you're dominate, but not the men. How? You lose to 1. De'Aaron Fox, Wemby was chucking missing balls, and De'Aaron Fox had negative basketball IQ. And LJ Newby played the game of his life. It was absolutely insane. The Knicks are just 1 game away from winning their first NBA Finals since 1973, and they got a chance to do it tomorrow night at San Antonio, which, considering the Knicks were able to beat the Spurs the first 2 games on the road, I think they'll take care of business. Which is unbelievable to think about, the Knicks. What an unbelievable team. And then for the NHL, of course, the Stanley Cup, the Hurricanes beat the Golden Knights 4-2 to secure Game 5 and put the Hurricanes up 3-2, and they got a chance to end the Stanley Cup. They got one final chance to end it on Sunday night in Las Vegas. So if that's true, it would be Carolina's first Stanley Cup since 2006, which would be an unbelievable year for the Carolina Hurricane fans. They've been waiting for this for a very long time. So, really big stuff. So we're about to approach La Jolla Cove. Really beautiful piece of coastline we're going to be coming up here soon. Yeah, the tickets for Knicks games at Madison Square Garden You want to know how much for tickets between Knicks and Spurs at MSG? The cheapest one I could find is $11,000 each. 11,000 at the Madison Square Garden. 11K. Hulk Hogan died. I think he died a while. I think he died a long while ago. He died last year in July 2025. Yeah, he died last year. He passed away last year. So we'll get to McClellan Airport very soon. But yeah, we're going to check out some beautiful coastline here. Leg 2, we'll talk about the U.S. national team on the second leg. So we'll get to there, of course. Of course, this year's World Cup. Definitely interesting, of course. In terms of the venues for this year's World Cup, in Mexico, there will be 3 cities that will be played in Mexico for the World Cup: Monterrey, Mexico City, and Guadalajara. Then for Canada, Toronto and Vancouver represent Canada. Will represent Canada's playing in this year's World Cup. And of course, for the United States is the most. Most of the sites is going to be here in the United States, including San Francisco, Vancouver, including Seattle, the San Francisco Bay Area, Los Angeles, Kansas City, Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, Miami, Philadelphia, Boston, and of course, the final in New Jersey at MetLife Stadium. So yeah, here's La Jolla Cove. This is La Jolla Cove. Absolutely beautiful piece of coastline. So just go in this direction. We're going to go ahead. So we're going to take a picture of that. Beautiful piece of coast, and we'll make our way down. Look at the coastline. Now, guys, if you guys don't know about Flight Sim news, something pretty big happened this week. Yes, the new world update for Microsoft Flight Sim is U.S. national parks. Do I even have to tell you why I have to talk about this? Because it just so happened they revealed this. Well, I'm still doing my national park series. So list of the national parks included, they said 30 national parks are going to be updated. 30 of them. So far includes Acadia National Park, Great Smoky Mountains, Tri-Tortugas, which we still yet to visit. Tri-Tortugas, which I still yet to visit, Big Bend, Guadalupe Mountains, Rocky Mountain, Great Sand Dunes, Canyonlands, Bryce Canyon, Zion, Death Valley, Yosemite, Crater Lake, Mount Rainier, North Cascades, Glacier, Yellowstone, Teton, Badlands, Mount Rushmore, and the Grand Canyon. So yes, we're going to have the national park stuff. They said it's going to come out on July 4th for the best date. Oh boy. The reason I brought this up is because we've already went through a lot of the national parks. So I want to tell you guys firsthand, I'll take a look officially what national parks will run. And and I'll list you guys what national parks that we've already went through. If that's true, I'm going to do a bit of a redux and see what it all looks like with the national parks. We'll do it after the series is over, so we can and I'll redo the entire flight plans. But I'll mainly be looking to do these flight plans that are a bit shorter, let you see and I'll put it in the national park series what national parks is covered. what it will cover. So these are the ones we'll do a redo and see what the difference is between post update national pre update and post update, so you guys can see the differences. But yeah, that would be done after the series ends. However, what other national parks we do afterwards, by July 4th, we don't need to do anything. So I just want to make that pretty clear. That's kind of be the policy going forward. So we'll do a bit of a redo. Does that sound good? But yeah, I'm looking forward to the update. I'm very excited for it. That being said, I'm incredibly excited for this update, and I cannot wait to see what this update will bring to the table. So really cool stuff. But definitely appreciate it, guys. I'm very excited for what's going to bring for the series going forward, of course. Now, in terms of how I feel like for this year's World Cup, of course, it's going to be a tough road for the United States. This Group D is going to be a very contested group between Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey. They're all going to be pretty good teams, of course. One interesting thing about the Paraguayan team, of course, they're currently managed by head coach Gustavo Alfaro, who is originally from Argentina. He's coached quite a few other national teams, including the Costa Rican, Ecuador national teams as well. So he's got some national team experience. We'll talk a bit about the United States when we eventually land in McClellan. So we'll land at McClellan Palomar Airport. Opened in 1959 for both GA and limited commercial service. As of March 2013, it's actually the fourth busiest single runway airport in the United States. It features some limited airline service from American Eagle to Phoenix, as well as United to Denver and San Francisco, and JSX services to Las Vegas, Oakland, Scottsdale, Reno, Tahoe, and Taos Regional Airport out of JSX. Pretty neat stuff. So, here we go, guys. McClellan's coming up. Yeah, looking forward to all of this with you. So here we go, guys. Our first stop of the day at McClellan Airport. So, of course, during our later streams this week we have a couple of streams going on. Tomorrow we have a bit of a bizjet operation from Las Vegas to Aspen, Colorado. We'll take the citation longitude for that flight. From Las Vegas to Aspen. Should be a really cool flight. Haven't done much bizjet operations with the longitude, so should be a new aircraft. And of course, Sunday is Canyonlands National Park. Excited for this one. We'll check out the beautiful, stunning Canyonlands National Park in Utah. One of the most striking and unique parks in the United States. So we're going to go ahead and make our landing here. Bit of a jolt, but that was a pretty smooth landing. So we'll just park here briefly. As if anyone else wants to join on in, you guys are more than welcome to join in on the flight. I'm very excited for it, Typhon. Good to see you, Super Typhon. Very excited for it, honestly. Some of the stuff in the trailer looks absolutely gorgeous. I am very excited for that. I think I said this earlier, Typhon, but I'm gonna wait till Microsoft official releases which national parks are gonna get covered. I'll put them in the Discord which national parks that we've covered already went through, that covers the ones we've already went through, and which ones are yet to be covered. And for the ones that we'll be covering, Typhon, we're going to be doing them in a Redux. We'll do in a Redux, which is going to cover all the national parks post-update. So we'll do what they look like post-update and pre-update. That way, we can see a bit of differences between the two. Because, let me tell you, but yeah, Acadia is going to look gorgeous. Because I'm looking at it right now, like Great Smoky Mountains, Dry Tortugas. Big Bend's supposed to be really striking now. Guadalupe Mountains. But yeah, I want to look at all this sort of stuff prior to it. Canyonlands is going to look absolutely insane. Canyonlands, Bryce Canyon, and Zion are going to be insane. But yeah. But what I'm saying is, for the ones we haven't done yet, I'll be doing a smaller version of the flight plans, just covering each of the parks themselves. We'll do a bit of a redux for them, which is going to be shorter, and it's going to cover basically right next to the parks. Now, of course, we're not going to talk about, like, I'm not going to have all the slides and stuff for those, but I am going to just show you what each of the parks, some of the major landmarks, and we're just going to do that. But plain simple, that's what I'm planning on doing. It's that plain simple, of course. But yeah, I hope that's probably what you think that would be a good idea. That way we'll still have the original videos, but I want to do a bit of a redux for each of the parks, and we get more into detail. Yeah, these are all the ones mentioned. But yeah, there's still going to be more national parks to be featured. I don't want to redo the entire thing. That takes over a year of my time. So let's go ahead and cover the let's go ahead and go to our next leg. We're going to make our way to St. Gabriel Valley. So we're going to go 312 degrees, heading. Nice thing about the X-Cub, of course, is its short takeoff capabilities. This thing is a stall machine. So we're going to make our way to... We're going to make our way... But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to all of it. So we're going to go ahead and check that out. Because I don't want to redo the entire series again. So I don't know what to do with it. I don't want to cancel the whole series. I'm over halfway done. I don't want to do that. And I think it would be wrong if I didn't go back to do those national parks, though. So I think that would be the best case scenario, is redo the parks. And we just go over each of the national parks covered, and then we'll fly them over again. Alternatively, we could do the flight plans through all of the national parks covered here too. Maybe a continuous flight plan or something like that. And cover the ones pre-patch. Don't worry though, all the notes would still be applicable. But maybe just do ones as we fly over each of the parks. So I'm just trying to find a good solution to all of it too. So here we go, guys. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the U.S. national team. We're finally going to be covering the U.S. men's national team, guys. I'm looking forward to this with you guys. One of the host nations this year, the USA. Woohoo! USA. The U.S. men's national team represents the United States in men's international soccer, governed by the U.S. Soccer Federation. And yes, it's soccer here in the States, because of course, it was invented by the English, who gave us that name. While the rest of the world went football, we being American, we stick with soccer. This team has been an affiliate member of FIFA since 1914 and founding affiliate member of the CONCACAF since 1961, which CONCACAF stands for the Confederation of North, Central, and Caribbean Association Football. From 1946, it was a member of the North American Football Confederation. And the U.S. has qualified for the FIFA World Cup 12 times, and it's one of 4 teams in the CONCACAF to advance to the knockout stage, and the best placement was 3rd in the 1930 World Cup, the first edition of the World Cup, and even reached the quarterfinals in 2002 and reached the round of 16 in 4 different editions. But of course, the 3rd place is still to this day the best result by a North America team in the competition. That's right, even better than Mexico did. And it's the only non-European or South American team to reach a World Cup podium finish, which is again another impressive thing about the United States. A lot of people don't realize that. Um, they first hosted the World Cup in 1994, which was considered by many to be one of the most successful World Cups of all time. And the United States has participated in CONCACAF's Premier Continental Competition 20 times and is the second most successful team, winning the Continental 7 titles in the 20 time of its perennial competition, one half of it. 7 CONCACAF Gold Cup titles and 3 Nations League titles. And it has even participated 5 different times in the Copa America as a guest. And they finished fourth twice in 1995 and 2016. Currently, the U.S. men's national team is of course coached by Mauricio Pochettino, who previously also coached Espanyol, who previously managed Espanyol, Southampton, Tottenham Hotspur, Paris Saint-Germain, and Chelsea. So pretty cool stuff. The U.S. is ranked 17th in the world this year, as of the World Cup start, was 17th in the world. The highest ever was 4th in 2006, and lowest was 36. So the U.S. has consistently been around the top 35 in the world stage. Pretty consistent for the United States men's team. Now, of course, the team image since their unofficial game back against Canada, the most common U.S. national team uniform has been white tops with blue shorts. A variant with diagonal stripe or sash, similar to Peru's, was adopted back in 1950 and was used in various uniforms in the 2000s. A color scheme based on the flag, usually a shirt with red and white stripes and blue shorts, has been occasionally used, mainly in the 1994 World Cup. And the main uniform supplier of the United States is American company Nike, has been the main sponsor. Adidas used to be the sponsor from 1984 to 1994, but since 1995 it's been Nike. Pretty big stuff, of course. The U.S. national teams had various kits over the years. The ones this year is really cool for the 250th anniversary, featuring a wavy stripe platform. So you can see it here for this year, which is really cool. It's the United States flag, which is really cool. Really cool kits for this year's United States men's team. Definitely one of the coolest kits I've seen in a while. Very cool stuff, of course, as always. But now for one of the things I'm pretty excited, though, is the rivalries. Of course, the U.S.'s biggest rival, without question, is Mexico. U.S. and Mexico absolutely hate each other. And I'm not kidding. It's one of those bitter international football rivalries in international football. I'm not kidding. Not only Mexico and the U.S. have been the two most successful teams in the CONCACAF, they're also pretty big rivals. And they first met in 1934 during a World Cup qualifier in Rome, which the Americans won. Then Mexico won the following 24 meetings between the U.S. and Mexico. But since 1980, the U.S. actually has had more wins against Mexico since 1980. As crazy as that sounds. One notable moment was in the 2002 World Cup, where the Americans beat the Mexicans in the round 16, which was held by Japan and South Korea. Then, of course, 2012, the Americans beat Mexico at the Estadio Azteca, their first victory in Mexican soil in 75 years. But yeah, the United States has been more successful than Mexico over the past, in the 2000s and stuff. It's been now a very heated, competitive rivalry. Used to be that Mexico had dominated, but ever since the 21st century, the Americans are starting to catch up to Mexico. And there have been a lot of incidents between the United States and Mexico. It's been pretty bitter, of course. But yeah, Mexico and the United States. But yeah, things are definitely interesting. Then the U.S. and Canada are also rivals, though it's generally much friendlier compared to Mexico. The U.S.-Canada rivalry is a lot more friendly compared to Mexico. And the United States historically has been the stronger side of the two between Canada and Mexico. Canada, it's mainly been U.S. dominance, but nowadays it's been pretty balanced though between U.S. and Canada. It's been relatively even, in fact, but the U.S. has won 18 matches to Canada 16. But in terms of matches, but the U.S. has been the stronger side mainly, as the U.S. made 11 World Cups to Canada's 3. In the 2010s, the U.S. gained a new rival, Costa Rica. Due to the fact the U.S. developed one starting in 2013, was the World Cup qualifying match in Colorado at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. And under blizzard conditions, Costa Rica filed a protest after the U.S. won the game 1-0, but denied recourse. It was the Snow Classico. Though crazy enough, the United States had never won an away match in Costa Rica ever in its history, losing 10 meetings and drawing twice. So yes, the U.S. has never won at Costa Rica. Go figure for that one. In terms of the supporters, there are two major groups back in the U.S. men's team, Sam's Army and the American Outlaws. Sam's Army started after the 1994 World Cup and were active through 2014. They mainly wore red to matches and sung and chanted through the match and often brought loud U.S. flags. But afterwards, after Sam's Army of course, nowadays, the new supporter group are the American Outlaws, and they're now the new group. And they were founded in Lincoln, Nebraska as a local group, but nowadays have actually grown tremendously ever since, mainly to address the lack of consistency from game to game for the U.S. men's national team. The national team also has a pretty major following for U.S. Social media platforms and interest in young American players, and the attention they bring has led to an increase in U.S. investment in U.S. players, soccer development programs, and sports clubs all across the country. And yes, the American Outlaws has had and they got chapters all over, including one here in Louisville. They got one here in Louisville. They got one in Indianapolis. They got chapters all over the point for the United States national team. But yes, the U.S. actually has now got supporter groups of its very own. Very big stuff, of course, for the U.S. Men's team. In terms of the national home stadium, the United States has no home stadium, unlike many other national teams. The U.S. does not have its own national stadium. They play all across the country, and as of 2025, they played 125 stadiums in 30 states and D.C. The stadium that's played more national matches than any other is RFK Stadium, with 24. The state that hosted the most matches is California, 120 of them. And the LA area has hosted more matches than any other city. And in fact, both the LA Memorial Coliseum and the Rose Bowl have hosted 20 and 17 matches each. And we're going to be visiting both of these, of course. But the main stadium we're going to be talking about here first is probably the new place that the United States national team is going to host in Los Angeles, SoFi Stadium, the absolute creme de la creme of sports stadiums here in the United States. This landmark opened back in September 2020. It plays both the Chargers and Rams out of the World Cup. It seats 70,000 people, but it can span up to 100,000 for major events. It has a translucent roof made of ETFE panels for sunlight and climate control. And it's hosted tons of events: Super Bowls, College Football Playoff National Championships, WrestleMania, CONCACAF Gold Cup, LA Bulls, 8 matches of this year's World Cup, and of course the opening ceremony and swimming events of the 2028 Summer Olympics. It's going to host all sorts of events. And it's also going to host tons of concerts too. A very popular concert venue nowadays at SoFi Stadium. Really neat place to visit. But yes, SoFi is a very, very cool stadium to visit. Great views of the place and all that. Really, really cool. Very neat stadium, of course. Definitely the star landmark here in Los Angeles. Well. So definitely pretty cool stuff here for SoFi Stadium. In terms of the national honors, the United States has had several honors, of course. Third place in the 1930 World Cup is their best ever placement. In the Confederation Cup, they once became the runners-up in 2009 and reached third place twice. And in the Olympic Games, reached the silver medal in 1904. In terms of continental honors, the United States has won the CONCACAF Gold Cup 7 times, most recently in 2021. They were runners-up 7 times and was third place twice. They won the Nations League 3 times, including back-to-back years in 2022-23 and 2023-24, and runners-up of the CONCACAF Cup. So, pretty successful team. The second most successful team in North America, of course. The first most successful team in North America is Mexico, obviously. But very important stuff, of course. Mexico has been Mexico has historically been the most dominant team in North America. Now, in terms of the national team players, there's a lot of stars from the United States national team to talk about. But I think the most impressive player from the United States national team is Landon Donovan. He's probably been the most successful player in U.S. soccer. One of the greatest American players of all time, Landon Donovan. He actually hails from Ontario, California. He was the all-time assist provider in international football until 2023, and tied with Clint Dempsey for the most international goal scored by a U.S. player. He actually got to play. He got to be part of the Bayer Leverkusen Academy, but when he truly became a star was when he joined the San Jose Earthquake, and then he moved back to the U.S. permanently with LA Galaxy, and you know the rest is history because Landon Donovan became one of the MLS's great stars for Major League Soccer. He did return to Europe prior on loans to Bayern Munich and Everton, the Toffees, of course, twice to Everton, but he became an MLS legend. But of course, he became even bigger with the men's national team. All-time assist leader, one of the great scoring guys. He's won 4 U.S. Soccer Athletes in the Year, and the only 7-time winner of the Football de Primera Player of the Year award. And he was part of the U.S. team that got quarterfinals of the 2002 World Cup. But very impressive player, versatile attacker, intelligence, and skill. But yeah, Landon Donovan, definitely one of the most talented players in the history of the U.S. men's national team. Then, of course, you have Tim Howard, longtime goalkeeper and is Tim Howard, one of the greatest, known as the Secretary of Defense, one of the greatest American soccer players of all time. Played for the New Jersey Imperials, had a long career in the MLS, but he also had a long career in the Premier League. In terms of his club career, he was the longtime goalkeeper of Everton, actually. Yes, he played for years with Everton, the Toffees, of course, and became a really well-liked player at Everton. In terms of goalkeeper, he's the most capped goalkeeper in the history of the United States. But he was especially a big piece during the 2010 World Cup, where he was pretty big against England in his World Cup debut. And of course, his distribution to Landon Donovan led to the goal against Algeria in the 2010 World Cup. And of course, he was also insane during the 2014 World Cup against Belgium. Despite the U.S. losing that game, he broke the most record for the most saves in a World Cup match. 15 of them. But no, Tim Howard's an incredible talent. Incredible player, too. And of course, he was an incredibly successful player for Everton. Being for the Toffees, of course. Then, of course, you have Clint Dempsey. Now he's actually the most goal scorer of any U.S. player. Is Clint Dempsey? He played for a lot of years for New England Revolution, but he also played for Fulham, and he played most of his club career at Fulham. Then at Spurs, and then went back home with the Seattle Sounders. But he scored 57 goals and 141 appearances for the national team. Another really good talent. He was a big piece of the United States national team. Now, if you talk about possibly the most talented player to ever come from the States, the star of this year's team is, of course, Christian Pulisic. He is, without question, one of the top North American players of all time. The dude's insanely gifted and talented. He actually played for Borussia Dortmund. He's played for Chelsea, and over the last few years, he's been a star at AC Milan. Incredibly talented guy. And of course, he's been really good for the national team too. 33 goals in 86 appearances, and I think he could definitely catch Landon Donovan and Dempsey's international goal record. He was a big piece of the U.S.'s CONCACAF traps, and he's going to appear in the World Cup. And he's going to be back for this year's Cup, so huge expectations for Christian Pulisic, but I think he can do it. Other stars for the United States, Kobe Jones is the all-time caps leader with 164. You have Jose Altidore. He's third in the goal-scoring list for the U.S. national team. Claudio Reyna. You have the defender Chris Richards, and several other American talents to go through the list. But yeah, that clears up the U.S. men's national team. So that's it, everyone. And that's the slides for today's flight. So guys, let's go ahead and cover this one too. So we know we talked about the United States national team. I want to talk about some of the other national teams that are host. So obviously the most successful club in North America has been Mexico, who've been the most successful North American club. 13-time Gold Cup champions. They won a FIFA Confederations Cup in 1999. They won the CONCACAF Cup in 2015, the Nations League in 2025. And they participated in a ton of World Cups. They participated 18 times, and they have made it consecutively since 1994. But unfortunately for Mexico, they've been historically unlucky. They've had some great teams over the last couple decades. It's just Mexico has been extremely unlucky. What do I mean, unlucky? Mexico had a streak. Mexico's had a streak between 1994 and 2018 from the round of 16. Had been stuck in the round of 16 for those years. It must be painful to be part of Mexico. But they've had some incredible talents though over the years too. I mean, this is a club with historical success, of course. Who knows? Maybe Mexico can shock people this year. This year they're the 14th ranked team in this year's World Cup, of course. And then Canada, the last host, is 30th in the national team, of course. Canada's been on the rise in terms of its national team. So this is Anaheim. So here is the Angels Stadium, home of the LA Angels. Here's the Honda Center, the home of the Anaheim Ducks. Of the Honda Center, the Ducks. So there's Angel Stadium. You see the big A down below. Really cool stuff. Here's Disneyland, the original Disney park. Should be down below. This is Disneyland, of course, the original park. Canada's 30th ranked. They've actually, this is only going to be the third time Canada's ever been part of the World Cup. They last qualified in 2022 and in 1986. And they won the CONCACAF Championship twice in '85 and 2000. But yeah, Canada's should be interesting. At one point, the highest was 26, but they're 30th. But I'm not gonna write the Canadians off. It's gonna be tough, but I think the Canadians are gonna get out of the group. Switzerland, Bosnia, and Qatar. Qatar's gonna be far and away the weakest team in its group. And I hope for all the Canadians that you guys make it into the group, into the knockout stages. We'd like to see you guys do well. For the Canadians and Mexicans, I hope you guys do well too. Hmm. So we're gonna go ahead and visit Dignity Health Sports Park here, the home of LA Galaxy. LA Galaxy are the most successful team in the MLS. They've been the winningest team in the entire MLS, 6 titles. So, pre-board stuff, we're down in Los Angeles, the biggest city in all of California, the second largest city in the United States, and of course, Los Angeles. Biggest city in California, 3 million residents in city limits. Its metro area is a whopping 12 million people, and the greater LA is 18 million. It was established all the way back in 1781 as a pueblo. It became a city in 1835. What brought a lot of rapid growth was oil in the 1890s, and the LA Aqueduct have built growth in this city. It's just a massive city in general. Massive container ports. It's got tons of stuff. Its culture's rich. Of course, Hollywood has historically played a big part. Performing arts, Hollywood, rich cuisine. It's an amazing sports city with all sorts of teams, not just Major League sports, but also um, collegiate sports with UCLA and USC. It's hosted so many events. It's going to host the Summer Olympics 3 times, making it only one of 3 cities, along with London and Paris, to host the Olympic Games 3 different times in Los Angeles. Plus, 8 Super Bowls have been held here, and it's going to host more World Cups in 1994 and 2026. So, yeah, LA, big city, lots of stuff going on in Los Angeles. So we officially made it to the City of Angels, guys. So, as for you guys' thoughts about who I think wins the World Cup this year, in my opinion, I did some bit of testing, and I picked Spain to win this year's World Cup over Argentina. I did have the United States, I think, make it to the quarterfinals, but they got knocked off by one of the other teams. But I picked the United States to upset Belgium and went to the quarterfinals, but I think they get knocked out. But yeah, I think Spain's going to win the World Cup. So here we go, guys. Dignity Health Sports Park. Um, of course, LA Galaxy and LAFC are also pretty big city rivals. Um, LA Galaxy has been really successful, of course. Them and LAFC are the crosstown rivalry El Tráfico, one of the 2 crosstown derbies here in the United States in the MLS. And there's been a lot of animosity, so it's one of the most popular contested rivalries in Major League Soccer, due to high goals, high scoring, dramatic goals, and close results. It's one of the MLS's great rivalries, along with the Cascadia Cup between Timbers and Sounders, which is part of the Cascadia Games. And also another really contested rivalry, the Hell is Real Derby, Cincinnati and Columbus. That's also a very bitter one as well. So, we got a bit more left to go. We don't really have that much far. So, guys, who do you guys think will win the World Cup? I think for many people, Spain is the favorite. Argentina is another one that's a lot of people like Argentina. I heard some people think Brazil could win the World Cup again. That would make it 6 for the Brazilians. And yes, I'm even aware of some crazy English folk thinking England's gonna finally bring it home. Think it's gonna finally come home to England. But I'm not that delusional. I'm not the average England supporter. I'm not that delusional. France is another big favorite. Is France? I mean, with the insane talent the French have had over the last few years, I'm not surprised that people say France are one of the favorites. But yeah, I'm really interested in see who's going to take this year's World Cup. I'm really interested to see Who's going to finally do it? Yeah, very curious to see who could finally do it. So here it is, Dignity Health Sports Park, the home of Los LA Galaxy. So yeah, Dignity Health Sports Park, home of LA Galaxy. So let's go ahead and make our way down to SoFi Stadium. So pretty big stuff, of course. So here we go. SoFi Stadium, the absolutely beautiful marble ahead of us. So here's, guys, SoFi Stadium, the absolute incredible marble that is SoFi Stadium. Also around this area too, they just recently built the Intuit Dome, which is now the new home of the LA Clippers, um, which is around $2 billion US built. Super modern stadium, of course, arena. The Clippers got their own arena, and it looks really modern. Here it is, the World Cup site. And here, of course, is the LA Coliseum. Downtown Los Angeles, baby. So here it is. There we go. LA Coliseum hosted matches of the 1994 World Cup. And here's the BMO Stadium, the home of LAFC. So here it is, guys, downtown Los Angeles, downtown LA. But yeah, really appreciate all you guys being here as always. I hope you guys like this stream. I really enjoyed doing these game day flights. Really nice to just sit back and enjoy this trip with the rest of you guys. But this is the beautiful city of Los Angeles. There's the former Staples Center. It's now officially known as the Crypto.com Arena. Sponsorships, of course. Straight to our left, you can see the historic Dodger Stadium, home of the LA Dodgers, of course. One of the most famous teams in baseball, the LA Dodgers. But the next place we're going to be checking out, of course, is of course the Rose Bowl. And yes, you can land up these helipads if you got a chopper, but I don't have a helicopter. And there's the Rose Bowl. This was the site of the 1994 World Cup final. Now, of course, you guys all remember, if anyone has remembered that game, of course, the 1994 Rose Bowl final, for the World Cup final, of course, was, of course, Brazil versus Italy. And this one was a very interesting derby of rivalry, of course. They beat Italy 3-2 on penalties. And Baggio had his infamous penalty over the bar, um, giving the Brazilians the World Cup. So the Rose Bowl is to our left. We should be seeing this one pretty soon. On our left is the Rose Bowl. And of course, the stadium seats up to 189,000. The record attendance was 106,000 in the 1973 Rose Bowl game, but it's also hosted to other sports, including the UCLA Bruins football. LA Galaxy used to play here for several years. So here is the Rose Bowl. There it is, in the UCLA colors. So we're going to go ahead and turn right. And that concludes our game day flight here for the World Cup. Next Saturday, of course, is going to be another World Cup match. This time, it's going to be a big one, in fact. Netherlands versus Sweden is going to be our next game day match. Is going to be the Netherlands versus Sweden is going to be our next match for the game day flights, of course. Is of course Netherlands and Sweden. Should be a pretty big one, of course. So looking forward to the next one. Of course, there isn't going to be any for the 26th. For the 26th one, of course. Now, I'm not going to do anything the next week after for the World Cup, and that's because, of course, I wanted to do this one for the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry for the June 26th. It's going to be Yankees-Red Sox, which is the biggest rivalry in baseball, and I've yet to cover the rivalry on the channel, so... Plus, I wanted a bit of a break from the soccer stuff for a little bit. Just a bit of a break. I'm just trying to balance out which ones I want to do. Hey, we got a raid from Woolies. Hey, Party of 10. Good to see you, Woolies. I hope you've had a great stream. We're about to wrap up this flight. We're about to make our final landing at San Gabriel Valley Airport. We were currently just covering the 2026 World Cup. The first matches. We have the USA and Paraguay. Earlier in the stream, we did talk about the Paraguayan national team. Very underrated team. I think they can probably turn some heads in this year's World Cup. And of course, the host, the United States of America. Thank you, Typhon, for giving Woolies a shout out. I hope you had a great stream, Woolies. If you did some flights, where'd you end up flying today, Woolies? I hope it's somewhere fun and interesting to check out. Like I said, there's the whole world. So, I hope you had a really good time on your stream, of course. So if you guys don't know, I'm ViperStrike95. I've done flight simming and flight streaming ever since. I've done flight streaming ever since 2021. I've been doing all sorts of things around here, of course. So I hope you all had a really good stream. Oh, the Super Connie. Oh, that's a very beautiful historic aircraft. Oh, what an absolutely gorgeous plane. The Super Connie. Oh, lucky you. That's a fantastic piece of aviation history you got there. So here we go. So here we go, guys. We made the landing here at San Gabriel Valley Airport. We'll go somewhere to park, of course. We'll just park right here. We'll just park somewhere right here, and we'll get everything set for the flights. But guys, thank you all so much for coming here. I hope you guys enjoyed this year's World Cup. We got Netherlands and Sweden on Saturday, of course. A pretty big matchup between two of the two European clubs. So should be two European national teams. So we got a bit of the view of the San Gabriel Mountains. So we're gonna find someone to raid. Stick around, guys, for the raid. We will be going back tomorrow in Las Vegas. We'll be doing the BizJet operations. Not a lot of stuff going on, so I think we're going to raid. I think we're going to raid Kenko's stream. I don't think I've raided him very much, so I think I'm going to raid his channel, of course. So stay around for the raid. So thank you all so much for being here. It's great to meet you as well, Willies, and I hope to see you all again soon. Thank you, Willies, for the raid. It's good to meet you for a bit. I hope we may see each other again. Certainly, Dev. We just about to end the stream, so guys, thank you all so much. I hope you all have a great start of your weekend. We'll see you tomorrow morning in Las Vegas for a really beautiful BizJet hike into Aspen. Take care, everyone, and I hope you all have a great day. Goodbye, everyone, and see you soon.